right, yes. Your question is, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get your question over the echoing.
No problem. The question was how you got involved with the Moorish movement, and what experience did you have that made it be the thing to be part of right now, opposed to anything else that's out there?
Well, my family is from the land that they today call Jamaica, which is Yamaka. So I've always known about the Maroons, or what they call them, they call them Moors down here, Maroons. So I've always known about the Maroons. And our family is part of the Arawak tribe, which is absolutely a family of the Moors. So I've always been a studier and a reader. It just didn't start with me finding connections to the Moors. I've always read. Our family is just a bunch of readers. By 11, I had gone through all of the, what they call children's books, and was making my way through the adult books before I was stopped because I was allegedly getting into grown folks' business, which wasn't necessarily adult reading material. It was just the adult section of the book. So I've always been a great reader, and I read extensively. I've always known about the Ottoman Empire, the Moorish Empire, the Moors, what do you call them? The Templars, the Scottish families, the Irish families, the British families. My particular branch of the family is out of Great Britain, so where I actually connect the two families, because my family is a part of the blood from my family, from my mother's side. It actually spans the British Moors of Great Britain as well as the Moroccan Moors of Yamaka. So I actually connect the two land masses. It's actually only separated by water. So I guess I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and have always been doing what I was supposed to be doing, because I've always been a leader, and I've always been one that I've always been 1,000% for justice, and had a big problem when there was injustice from a very young age. So what the actually meeting Ron and Taj did was, a lot of the books that I read, they painted the Moors as pale-faced European foreign aliens. And so once that was corrected, a lot of things started to make sense. So what you'll find with each and every one of us is we've always known we were Moors, or have known about the Moors in some way or another. We just needed a few more dots connected so that we can link back into the family and nation.
Well, I too have a very similar story. I was aware of Moors, but I did not recognize their association to myself until I came across a Taj Tariq Bey video where Brother Abdullah Bey is introducing him, and it's to do with the driver's license and driver's license fraud. And Taj is sitting there with his with the burgundy fez on and the white tunic. And I skipped over the video a lot of the time, and I'll be honest with you, because of the syndrome of that. You know, we've been trained to look at it as, to hear anything from our own selves, we'll usually reject it first. And so I would go back to Robert Renard videos. I would look at videos of Winston Strout and other so-called patriots, Europeans. They had a lot of good information, but at the same time, some things were missing, and they always spookified it. And it was very, very spooky the way they told it, and you could never really understand it. But for some reason, something drew me back to Taj. And so I started listening to what he was speaking of. And at first, I have a pretty good grasp of what he was talking about, so I thought. But the more I listened to the brother, the more I had to go look up, the more I had to go and research on my own, and he never failed to continue to repeat that. He told us, don't just take my word for it, go and find out for yourself. And, the others never really said that. And I was staring at my face. When I say that, I mean that someone who was of my nation at that time, he was telling me who I was. And I had, like I said, I knew of the Moors, but from reading books about the Ottoman Empire, so on and so forth, because I practiced the art of distillery, and the sciences of alchemical sciences as well. And so it was easy for me to transition and to understand that this was me at that point, because, he all but told me. And I went to the books and started looking at them from another perspective. And then finally I saw my face in the Moors that I had been reading about, and the craft, and the different arts and sciences that were in these books that, that have filled my shelves for so many years. It was just hidden from me in plain sight. And he gave me the keys that I would understand who I was again. And I appreciate Taj Tariq as well as, of course, the Prophet Noble Ali for delivering back these keys, which I call jewels. And so that would be how I was introduced into what I see now. That's why I happen to choose it over nothing else, because the truth kept coming and it kept revealing itself. And and I remember Todd continuing to say that the truth needs no apology. And you know what? It did not need any apology. It just needed me to grasp it as being the truth. With that, I respectfully yield the floor, unless you have further questions for right now.
We'll do the question and answer thing for now. And if there's anything that comes to mind that you need, because we're also recording this, so it's going to be some of it's going to be posted up on YouTube, and we're going to make a DVD of it. So feel free to go as deep as you want to go and let people know whatever you have to let them know.
All right, no problem at all. Me, honestly, I would like to first talk about something that really covers all of us, no matter who we are, and that's economics. I love economics. That's what I do. There's economics of all kinds, not just to deal, with finance, but our nation needs finance, and we need to function in that manner. I don't know how many people are there in the temple, but I know that from watching your videos, you're all quite active. And if right now, much finance should be entering into that temple, those temples, and with the finance, you should be building grain stores. Those grain should be stacking up. Wherever it be, be split peas, brown rice, so on and so forth, storing it correctly, and things of this nature, so that you're going to need the temple in time of need, and that's now, sooner than what people think. If you do not assist in making sure your temple is financed, how can it build libraries, get the books it needs in order to make sure that if one of you all are kidnapped, they have access to the books, internet, so on and so forth. These things are very vital. We must take care of the temples that they may take care of us. And I don't just mean any temple. I mean yourself and the places where the people are actively looking out for the better good and benefit of the people. It's easy to tell this. You know by the truth and the words that people speak. By the constant videos that are being placed up. That are ousting those who are causing injury to this movement. Those who do not care to the upliftment of Mother. These things are very of vital importance to us. The temple should have finance, where we should be taking finance of the temple and having dehydrators starting to dry food, especially vegetables and fruits and spices and such, where you should be stacking it up right now, where you can send the people out into the roads that they may be selling goods to the people. That way the temple is enriched because it is your home. It is your home away from home. It is a place where people come when they are sick and they can get healed. And so this is very important. Does anyone there have anything to say about what I'm saying right now?
Islam.
I couldn't hear you.
Islam.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Islam.
No, we definitely agree. We definitely agree. We just had a meeting, and in the meeting we were talking about starting up food co-ops.
Exactly.
And gardening
Islam,
and
definitely.
starting up you know, just to be able to provide for ourselves what we need, so in case it does happen, you know, which it more than likely will, we'll, like you're saying, we have a home away from home that we can go to get certain things that we need.
Yes, if you have more than 3 people, enough finance can roll in there that you start to purchase things in bulk. And since, you know, they claim that food is not taxed, you know, so when you go out into the highways and the byways to sell goods, you can also sell it at a more reduced price because you don't have the same overhead of the corporations. You know, you actually have the advantage above the corporations if you start to think along those lines. I mean, you should be selling perfumery and different things of this nature that would enrich the temple, definitely. And if there's enough people, like I said, if you have more than 3 people, it is very easy to organize finance that you will see the upliftment of the temple reach into your own private homes, because it would help you. It would help you if you help it, and recognize that it's an extension arm of you, especially when it's delivering information to you. And in these times, they may kidnap one of our brothers or sisters off to the side of the road in a heartbeat, and so you have to have access to go get them. You know, when you have branch who are actually acting like branch chiefs who want to go and aid the people, and they have these things, you know, books, like I said, and internet and tools available to them. These tools cost finance, especially for those who are willing to help the people. I also would like to go into, we're talking about, especially this is an area that I know Mother Anaid is definitely powerful with, and that's the right to travel. And so I would like to go into that, and I'll let her start on that, and we can just correspond back and forth on that, because she studies very fervently into this area. Peace, Mother, are you there?
Yes, I am here. One of the biggest ways that they extort finance from us as a people is with the entire motor vehicle fraud. And we must, you know, as diligent as, let's say it is with economics and finance, you know, he is just as diligent with law as I am as well. We all must be masters, because that's the heritage that we're coming from. We're masters of law, first and foremost. And once you're masters of law, you're master of everything, because everything is law. So when it comes to the law of the land, we must know that no public servant anywhere on planet Earth can regulate your movement, and to even imply that they are attempting to do that is absolute treason. We must know that the Constitution of the American Constitution actually it's an international document. It's based off of divine law. The reason it is in written form is because we as Aboriginal Indigenous people, inherently, divine law is inscribed on our hearts. So we function from our hearts and always operate at law all the time. We must move back to that, because we were moved away from that by these foreign European aliens. We must move back to that. And if we don't, that's all right. because mother will remove you from this planet in this particular dimension. So, you know, right now we have a choice. We can correct ourselves, or Mother Nature will correct you. And at that point, you won't have a choice. You'll just have to recycle back. When we talk about the law, we as a people, we have the tendency of just, you know, listening to DVDs or listening to audio one time, and we say that all of the misinformation that is in our head has miraculously been diluted with right information, and we make premature moves based on that experience. I don't have a problem ripping somebody up one side and down the other. I have no problem doing that because I'm doing it with love. When you get into the hands of these foreign European aliens, they're not going to do that. They're going to do everything that they can to permanently injure you. I will hold you very harshly if you make a premature move and you have not done the appropriate amount of studying even after I have told you to sit down and study. Because you need to move back to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. And you're demonstrating to me that you are functioning under the foreign European alien spell of the Christian crusade. So you need to go sit down and study. Don't take it personal. I'm looking out for you. So I say that to say we all need to study so that when we do go and cut, we are using the double-edged sword of truth that the prophet brought back to us instead of the butter knife. Traffic is a very, very lucrative endeavor for foreign European aliens. Yet, it is absolutely simple. Public servants cannot regulate you at all. And so, if they ask you for finance in any way, shape, or form, they are functioning as a for-profit foreign European corporation. Because as a government public servant, they receive a salary. Anything above that is a slush fund. And so our writ must bring these points of law out. If you go onto the website, and by the way, the website is Moorish Nation Public Record. It's not Moorish National, Moorish Nation Public Record. There is a 33. There's a series of activities that I initiated where I submitted 33 questions to the Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles. I didn't intend for it to be 33 pages, but it manifested to 33, and I left it at 33 because it was a message in code. If you have been studying, then you know what that message was. And I received a response that let me know that they received my coded message. And I got it from a Eastern Star daughter, European daughter. So go up and check out that document. Read and study the document, because within that document is loads of ammunition for all of our Moors to do in their writ. It breaks it down.
Mother, I want to say something in conjunction and in consort with what you're saying, so that people can continue to feel what we're talking about as being, as deriving from love. When she says foreign European aliens, she is not saying anything hateful or spiteful. She is simply speaking about status. She's describing who a certain people are, and hate has nothing to do with this. and the rest of the world is also recognizing this as well. I'm going to read something really fast, and I'll go back to let her speak because this is in direct consort with what she's covering. This is directly from a book called The Indigenous Peoples in International Law. This is international law. And I mention this book because when you find books of this nature, they're usually very expensive because they want to hide the information from you. It says human rights instruments and other advances in international law. It says recognize preeminence and applicability of the American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man. And it comes on over to, it says legal status of communities. It says the state shall ensure that within their legal system, personality is attributed to communities of indigenous people. It says Article 3, right to belong to an indigenous community or nation. Indigenous peoples are, and individuals have the right to belong to an indigenous community or nation in accordance with the traditions and customs of the community of nations concerned. No disadvantage of any kind may arise from the exercise of such rights. Now I'm going to give you the definition of indigenous people, and I'll yield the floor to her that she may continue to speak on the issue, the subject at hand. It says, Article 1, this is the definition. It says, in this declaration, indigenous people are those who embody historical continuity with societies which existed prior to the conquest and settlement of their territory by Europeans. It says alternative 1, as well as peoples brought involuntarily to the New World who freed themselves and re-established the cultures from which they have been torn. I read that to everyone so that they would understand where we're coming from when we say foreign Europeans, aliens, because we're talking about specifics and law and stating the status. With that, I yield the floor to you, Mother.
Before you continue, Sister Anaid, could we back up a little bit and could you speak on status and proclaiming your nationality before you even get into going into writs and writing writs and speaking in the manner that we're speaking?
Of course.
Did you say speak on status?
Yes, status and nationality, yeah.
All right. The one thing that the prophet said, and I want to be absolutely clear with this because there's a lot of people out there that are pushing a lot of packets, papers, and identification cards. The one impacting thing that the prophet said was, if you do nothing, proclaim your nationality. Now, it must be understood that once you, in your mental capacity, make the decision to go back to the mindset of your foremothers and your forefathers, and you are no longer worshiping under the vine and fig tree of another nation, you have proclaimed your nationality. It's just that simple.
For sure.
Now, you can then go on to the website, download the name correction and the proclamation. I would suggest that you study those two documents because they are chock full of a lot of information. And if you do your due diligence and you go and look up many of the references that are in those documents, you will be absolutely able to stand on your square. Because nationality is not in papers or identification cards. It is in between your two ears. And that's just from an intellectual perspective. The more you study and the more you get clear about who you are, that will drop down and manifest into your heart. And that's where you want to be moving from. Because when you get to that point, your energy will change and Europeans will feel you coming before you get there. That's how powerful nationality is. I'll also say that, you know, when, if you've done your research, you will know that Chavez nationalized everything in Venezuela. But the first thing he did was, you know, make sure that the people were nationalized and functioning from the national perspective. And once that was done, everything else fell into place. The nationality for wars, who are a war of Madrid al-Aqsa. The political jurisdiction is Moorish American national. That's what the prophets brought you. And the reason we talk about foreign European aliens, and I specifically use that terminology to identify them, is because they are foreign to this land. They are European in a modern sense, not an ancient sense, because we are the ancient Europeans. Because the Latin term for Europe is Europa, and that's referring to Queen Europa. So from a modern perspective, under political jurisdiction, they're European, and they are absolutely foreign to this land. So I refer to them as foreign European aliens, because they like to put that term alien on Aboriginal indigenous people. And we must correct them every time, even in casual conversation. Islam.
I like this, in conjunction with what she's saying about status. If we look deep into the definition of status, you'll know that status also means estate. And so they're letting you know that you cannot claim an estate without being in your proper status. Status also, as she was explaining, is definitely the state of mind of an individual in alignment with the rest of his nation. Let's read the definition of status. The legal position of the individual in or with regard to the rest of the community. The rights, duties, capacities, and incapacities which determine a person to a given class constitute his status. And then when you come down to this is Black's Law Dictionary, 3rd edition, it also means estate because it signifies the condition or circumstances in which one stands with regard to his property. Now, this is very important because your first property is yourself. And most people don't recognize that. You are your own property. And most people lose sight of that. And so if you don't claim who you are, you know, someone else will come along and snag you, you know, as a stateless person. And a stateless person is someone without the idea and understanding of status or estate. Because they are stateless. Status, state, they all mean the same thing. Constitution, it means the same thing as status. Your standing. You know, what is your position? If you don't have a position, someone will give it to you. And you don't want people giving you your position in life. Because that means that you are a ward. Someone else is telling you what to do. You are incapable of thinking for yourself. When you yourself don't know where you stand. You must stand for something or you'll fall for anything. And so with that, you know, that's what status is. And so, you know, Noble Drew Ali brought to the Moors their nationality and birthright. He gave us back our standing. And he told us from that point to go study, that we would know without question, like you were saying, on the spirit who we are. So that if your book was taken away from you, your nationality card was removed from you, you didn't have a fez on your head or a turban, you can still let the people know who you are. Because it's written on your spirit. Because you are without doubt a contradiction what your ancient foremothers and forefathers are. And the thing was, we didn't know who we were, so he brought that back to us. And then it just moved on through the spirit of Taj Tariq Bey and, you know, and other Moors that he raised up and gave the information to that they may go to the highways and the byways and uplift Mother. That's why most of the time when you hear me on call, I'm always with Mother. Because we flow like that, you know, we study. And you'll hear Mother Anaid at the end of every call, of every lecture say, study. And so it's not just, what she's saying is, not just studying anything, studying something of substantive worth. And then when you base that study, go and apply it. Because if you can study all day long, but if you don't apply properly what you study, you wasted your time. You just retain a piece of information that's holding up space. And I know you have something to say on that, Mother.
How many sisters do you have in your audience?
There's 4 right now.
4?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. One of the questions that I hear quite frequently is, what have you done to help uplift fallen humanity? And before you can even get into answering that question, you must first be able to answer who is fallen humanity. And most people do not comprehend that fallen humanity is her, because all things come through her. This entire universe is nothing more than a womb, and all things come through that womb. So when you're asked the question, what have you done to help uplift fallen humanity? Your only response can be, whatever you have done to help wake her up.
Islam.
And so that's the answer. Uplifting fallen humanity is waking her up, because all things come through her.
Islam.
So your temple, exactly. So when your temples must be pretty much situated with mother at the head. Because the last time I checked, I don't know of any son who gave birth to a child.
Impossible.
Prophet said that in her womb is a nation, not his testicles. Her womb. So that's how we uplift fallen humanity. You help to wake her up. She's the prize. If you didn't know, she's the prize. She's the Holy Grail.
Let me say something really quick. Definitely, I gotta say this. When mothers are there, men are going to follow mother. Men do anything they can to attract the attention of mother. Those 4 mothers that you have there, they can easily go and spread the information. Sons will follow them all over the place. They'll follow them to the temple. And so the mother can easily dispense the information. Seriously, she can dispense the information to the children and they will listen. She can dispense the information in much more places than a man could, because she's actually first with him. If that makes any sense. She runs the hospitals, she runs the offices, and so on and so forth. So she's in a position where, the information can be gotten out at a rapid pace. If you study Marcus Garvey, so he used the brand. They'll say like Marcus. He gathered all of the people. No, Marcus recognized to utilize the energy of women to go and collect the people. That's why his movement grew so rapidly. And a lot of times we as men don't put our egos down, to let mother do her thing, because we feel that it's going to remove something from us, but it really does not. It actually strengthens us. Our job is to step to the side and and let people know not to put their hands on mother, because we got something for them. That's our job. That's our total position. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's what we're supposed to do, to let to let anyone know no violation or harm is to come to mother.
That's absolutely correct, because she is the law. She is the ill, and his job is to make sure everyone obeys the law. That's why he's a they. because his job is to make sure everyone obeys the ill, which is her.
Creator.
And as long as she is not in her proper place, everything is out of order. And that's what we have today. So, you know, we can't talk about status without putting mother in her proper place, which is right up there at the head.
We have no estate without mother. We have no standing at law without mother. We wouldn't have a title without mother.
That's right. And the other thing that must know is that she is the heir. She's the heir. Everyone profits through mother, but she's the heir. And there's a lot of sons that don't want to absorb that information. That's all right, because these foreign European aliens, they know it. And they have no problem playing the cat and mouse game when a son comes into their arena and act like he's the heir when she's the heir.
May I say that if as great a man as Noble Drew Ali was, his mother had to be even greater.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And if you look at the front cover of the 101, the whole lesson is right there. It says, when she wakes up, the great meeting is on. It's right there. So how can you uplift fallen humanity? Help to wake her up. Because if you help to wake her up, she will once again educate the child that's in the womb, the Ark of the Covenant, for 9 months. And when the child gets here, there will be no need for any further education, because they will come here knowing.
Sister Anaid, we have
She's the prize.
sorry, we have some new people, so I'm gonna give them a copy of the 101 questionnaire. Could you just go over what you just said with regard to the picture on the cover?
On the front, I think I have mine with me, because you know, even though you know, studying always entails going over the 101 and not just oh well, maybe it's not on the front cover of the 101 after all. Huh, looking at mine, but oh yeah, there it is. The great meeting is on. On the top it says the great meeting is on. He's holding mother, who is unconscious or asleep, and on her womb is inscribed humanity. And then you have Noble Drew Ali with one foot on the stone, and it says salvation, and the other foot is on the cares of the world. That whole meaning is the whole message of uplifting fallen humanity. When she wakes up, the great meeting is on. Because out of her comes humanity, comes the nations of the earth. So that's the message. The first question says, who made you? It says Allah. Who is Allah? Allah is the Father of the universe. If you've done your appropriate study, then you know she is Allah. There's a saying, hell has no fury, like a woman thorn. And there's also the saying, the wrath of Allah. My children's father, he's a big dude. He looks like a big bear. And I can tell you, I'm a little thing. When I am not happy, everybody walks on eggshells, including that big bear. So, who is Allah? She is. She's the law. Because Allah means arm, leg, arm, head. And that's what she means.
Islam. And when you see the
Islam.
5 points, you know, on the star, in the middle there is the womb. You might see that on the Chrysler, on the Chrysler automobile, that little, that Pentagon.
Yeah.
That's the womb. That's why the Pentagon has it there. That's the womb. Mother. And they recognize when they came here, the foreign Europeans, they had to commit rape and rapine, so they knew to go after the womb. They knew to corrupt the womb. That way that they could easily destroy it from there on out. Any damage that they do is through the womb. They go after the babies before they're born at the hospital, through the chattel document that we call a birth certificate. Chattel, no different than cattle. That's why it's important that we were teaching, to make sure that once we knew what they were doing, we were able to prevent and to block and to protect ourselves from what they're doing. And that's why it's imperative that we protect Mother. It takes nothing from us sons at all. We still get to go and shine. And most of the time, Mother wants us to shine. But, when Mother is left injured and sick and we don't uplift her, there's chaos like there is now.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what the Europeans have instituted. They have the mother and son at each other's throats, so that as long as mother and son is at each other's throats, you'll never have the peace that you need to think your way out of the many different situations that you're being put you in. It's an excellent strategy. We must be wise and recognize that and not fall for the same trap over and over and over again. And if we are truly, absolutely serious about coming into the constitutional fold, going back to the mindset of our foremothers and our forefathers, then we have got to always be diligently studying, meaning you don't have time to watch movies, go to the movies. You don't have time to watch this stuff they call music. Listen to this stuff they call music. You don't have time to, be trying to get into relationships in the middle of a tornado. You really don't have time to, even from a woman's perspective, you don't have time to bring in babies into this particular existence at this time, because there's so much work to be done, and everybody has to get up and fight. Everybody.
Speaking of attacking the womb, the reason that we're having the show is about, the video Moore versus the police. And in that video, who were they attacking? It appears like they were attacking my son, but they were attacking Mother's womb to try to get him young. That's why I was out there in the street to make sure that I got my son back. That was doing my job as a son, was returning my wife's son to her.
Yeah.
Because, my household would get total disarray if my son was removed. I would have to do that for my wife. I would hurt definitely, but I would not grieve on the level of Mother. My wife would be hurt on another level because he came directly from her No, she had the pains of birthing him, which she used no medicine whatsoever. And she always tells me that, it's an enjoyable pain. It's something that she would never do it any other way. And so, to see her face that day when our son was in that car, she just, she was hurt. But at the same time, she became a different person that I had not seen before. When she was on that stoop behind me, saying, you need to release my son. And I bring that up because it just shows, what Mother Anaid is speaking of about the attacking of the womb. And we're at this state because we have allowed this to carry on for so long. But now, we are starting to uplift Mother, so you're starting to see, great advancements being made in this movement.
Peace, God.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mother. I just wanted to say that because that was an important point, because I remember seeing my little boy's eyes of how he looked, and he knew that he was in a position that he should not have been in, because they were literally trying to separate my family, and they were trying to divide my family.
Yep. So doctrine of discovery.
Exactly. Black code, yes.
Just jump in there.
Peace, God. Peace, God. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Who am I speaking with?
It's Brother Najwa.
Islam, brother.
Islam, bro. Islam. I just got a quick couple of questions to ask you. I fell upon your video some time ago, and I seen you dealing with the police, and it gave me a boost of confidence myself, because I'm always in issues with the police. So I just want to give you that respect too, But
I appreciate that.
my first question for you is, what is the first question we should ask police when approached by an officer?
Before I go further, I'll say that again, I was not by myself. I had my wife, and I also had Mother Anaid who was with me during the whole ordeals of these incidents. There was many things that led up to this, and we were working, hand in hand, and the reason why they were so angry, and another reason why they did not touch me, is because we had already put things in place. And you said the first thing that you should ask them. I'm going to be honest with you. You should already contact the mayor, the governor.
Yes.
Anything to do with how they operate before anything ever happens. And that's what I had done. I didn't step in the street with any magical powers, though I did bring spells through writ in advance. That's why they didn't touch me. That's why I said, I know you want to touch me, because they knew who I was already. So they had made several attempts where, you knew without question they wanted to take my life, but they really thought about it. Now, not just on that video, there was many things that led to that. And they recognized that we had written so many people that we had made it public. I have people that will say to me, that wouldn't have happened if you were in L.A., they would have killed you, or that wouldn't have happened in Texas, so on and so forth. You know what, I'm going to tell you what, they would more easily have killed me over in the Idaho territory with all those skinheads over there and people who can't stand us as a people. But they couldn't do it because everyone could see the activity being made. I made that place public. I have people that will walk up to me and tell me, this was a small town here, even though we know townships, boroughs, and so on and so forth are corporations, but they'll say, this is a small town and we didn't have a lot of outsiders here till you brought that crap here and making everyone focus on us. That's the power. In advance, you should already send out tons of risk about who you are. To deal in government, there is something called the science of diplomacy. And so you must start to bring it to the table where they already know who you are before they deal with you. That way, when they do deal with you, they deal with you with a level of great respect. That's why I had absolutely the greatest confidence, and I would do it regardless of the fact. But I knew without question they wouldn't touch me. I was headed over to that car to go and take my son from the car because I knew that they couldn't touch me. They would tell me, so to touch you is like an act of war. And I'm like, correct. As far as, they'll ask me why I talk like a soldier, because that's what I am. Not here to dispense any violence. That's last on the list. But I'm here to uplift and to make sure that law is put on the table first. And so I hope I'm answering your question, and I hope I'm not, disappointing you by bringing you this information the way I'm doing, but I'm giving you some, valuable information to let you know, always let your nation, your flag, your seal, the quality and nation precede. It should already precede you. You should be like, there's enough people in that room. I don't know how many people are there. How many people are in the room right now?
13.
13. Oh, wow. That's a lot of people. 13 people. Of the 13 people, you should, you all live in the same area. It's quite obvious, or surrounding areas, or dominions. Oh, all right. So what you should do is, all of you all should be together, faxing and emailing to the point of being a nuisance.
Yes.
Letting them know that you are there.
Yes.
By the hundreds, by the thousands. I mean, just make it a part of your daily schedule. Like today, I think I'm gonna send out 50 emails and 50 faxes and build you up an email list of CC. You should be CCing every single day about issues to do with rights to travel.
Yes.
About issues to do with them taking people's children. I don't know what they call it there, but most of the places they call it child protective services, and they're not protecting the child. They're protecting finance.
They aided the child.
That they're using the child in order to rob, in order to rob finance.
Just
but
to,
this is what you should be doing.
Just to put you on notice, the Child Protective Services out here is called CAS, and their head office is on Isabella Street.
Oh yeah. And so, but it's up to you to cut the head off that snake. Then that means that you should be bombarding that place with writs. If the 13 people are there in that room with a lot of power, especially coming from Mother, you should be bombarded. So one person can draft their writ. It doesn't have to be everyone drafting a writ, but one person can draft their writ, and then they can take that writ and then add, every person may add a couple of paragraphs to it about their own personal experiences. Go online, find the photographs of all of these so-called public servants in position of public trust, robbing the people through force, and making sure you plaster their images and their violations everywhere. That's how you do it.
Let me ask this question. Could you, because I know you did, I heard the blog talk about it, but could you go into again what a writ is and the power of writs coming from nationals?
No problem at all. On Civil Alert, when we did the blog talk, the power of writs, that was one of the largest shows because the writs are amazing. When you receive a writ in the mail, it says you owe someone or you violated something. When we were totally ignorant of law, it had a great deal of power. It put something on your shoulders that was weighty and heavy. It would drag you down because writs are spells. And those people writing a writ, drafting that writ, were casting a spell. And I'm not saying that in a spooky sense. I'm saying that in the literal sense of the etymological root of these words when you look them up. And etymology is the mother. When you look up the words, in the dictionary, the words in the bracket, they'll give you the circa, which means about the time that the word came into existence, so on and so forth. But this is the real meaning of the word. And so these spellcasters will send you, these spells in the mail because that's what they're doing. They're spelling things out. They're spelling your standing out if you don't know your standing yourself. And so that's why estate and status are important, because if they're the one telling you what your estate is, you don't have one because they're going to usurp off of it. And so, writs are very important. Once you start to study and learn of the power of writs in there, you'll learn about the reversal of energies, and you can learn about this through the Hermetic principles of Hermes Trismegistus. You should look that up if you don't already know. It'll teach you about polarity, so on and so forth, with the 7 principles. Writing of writs, it doesn't require a whole lot. It requires having an issue to bring to the table. And it requires, asking questions. You should ask questions. Why not? The same questions that you sit there and say to yourself when you receive something in the mail that says you owe something, you still think, well, what's this? You should be asking that. You know, when you say, well, why should I have to pay this? All of the things that you say to yourself, you should be asking. Making them prove their position. You know, you're not saying that you won't pay them, you're saying that I'll gladly pay you, but you need to first, you know, tell me who you are, or I'll gladly perform whatever task that you say I need to perform, but you need to first show me where you have derived your authority to tell me what I need to do.
I just.
You know, writs are very important. I also yield that Mother Anaid may come in on this as well. Islam.
One of the things that we as a people need to become familiar with is even if you do nothing, if you have been violated, you need to document it for future reference. And we don't do that enough. There's no statute of limitation on violation or fraud or absolutely treason. So in your lifetime, if you can go back in your mind and remember any and all incidences where your liberties were violated, you need to put the pen to paper and start documenting that. Don't worry about the format, just document everything that happened, the people that were involved, and put it in a folder. And, you know, if you want to go back and address it later, or if you want to address it now, the way to learn how to draft writs is to start drafting them. It's just that simple.
That's what you need to tell my ass.
It's just that simple. Everyone is being injured, even as we sit here. Because I'm sure you, just like us, are forced and extorted to pay fees for your own resources in the form of utility. So you can't tell me that you don't already have injury. If you've been extorted out of finances to purchase an automobile, that's your own stuff. You have an injury. If you've been forced to register your personal property, insure it, carry one of their permission, one of the motor vehicle membership cards, you've been injured. If you've been forced to send your child to one of their Christian crusade institutions that they call a school, you've been injured. There's so many injuries that we have to address. No one should be sitting twiddling their thumbs.
You know, also in regard to writs, you know, writs are any instrument. Like she's trying to tell you, my father always taught me that, you know, there's almost nothing more powerful than a paper trail. And you want to create a paper trail. Most of the time, they won't even answer you back. Many of the time, they may still move ahead and do what it is they were going to do in the first place. And some might say, well, why should I do it then? You should do it because when you put it in writing, they recognize you don't. And it starts to dismantle their psyche on the fact that, you know, before they're confident that you don't know. And that's why they eat off of the people, because of the people's ignorance. That's why it said that our people suffer because of lack of knowledge. And so once you start to put in writing and let them know that you understand, it changes everything. And when you put violations in writing, you know, these politicians, believe it or not, they operate under international law, maritime law. You know, and so when you start to put their violations in writing, you know, it makes it difficult. They have to be insured, you know, under what is called being bonded. And bonds have been in place for more than 200 years to secure the rights of the people against corporate agents, you know, causing injury, or politicians, corporate agents, same thing. You know, when you put it in writing, these violations, it makes it difficult for them to be insured. It may even seem like nothing becomes of it. You know, I have many people say nothing has become of what you've done. But, you know, when they come up for review again, they have to be reviewed. That insurance company doesn't care if, you know, what nationality they are. All it cares about is the bottom line, and that's revenue. And so when they cause injury and bring, when they start to bring imbalance to their revenue, they will be gotten rid of.
Okay, peace, God.
Any of them, even the governor can be gotten rid of. You know, Mother Anaid and I were talking, about, what's his name, Sparkle, what's his name? You know, the European who was going to sue Reagan.
Oh, Sprinkle.
Sprinkle, yes. So, that was a perfect example of how it didn't matter who they were, governor or not, they could be injured financially by these writs that we write. And so when you start taking pencil to pad and continue to write, like right now, we have the Justice Department. The Justice Department is dealing with matters left and right. And they won't tell you that they've dealt with it. Say, for instance, you had an issue with them taking a child. Then you may write, the Justice Department and CC everyone else, and it forces them to do their job. When I say everyone else, I mean all of the other nations on the planet. Make them aware because, they're the ones who are investing in these European corporations because the Europeans have no resources other than what they get from other nations. And so when you start writing these other nations and letting them know that they're not honoring contracts that they claim are contracts, even though we know they're quasi and they're forced on the people, those other nations start thinking differently about, making loans to them because they say, the people are, those people are waking up. And so they're no longer in a status of wardship. Wardship means that, you're incapable of thinking for yourself, so someone has to act as guardian or trustee over your estate. So writs are very important. Writs collapse the system. Like I remember with the mother Abaca Bay, there was a European so-called Jew that came on the television, on the newsreel, and he said, they're cluttering the system with paperwork, and he was angry by that. Why would he be angry if it meant nothing? Because it means everything. Because that writ makes a paper trail that is quite damaging. And it forces them to do their job when you make sure that it's CC'd around the planet. And the brother who asked the question of me, I asked him, have I helped you in any way, or should I go in further on helping you with answering the question?
Go further.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. No. Well, talk to me then. Tell me why you say a little bit.
Okay.
And I can go in further.
I gotta thank you for the information, first and foremost. What I'm saying is, what I was trying to ask you is, when we're approached by an officer, right? What are some requirements the officer has to have on him, or does he need to even approach an indigenous Aboriginal as myself?
All right, no problem at all.
Can I say
So you
something?
have it.
I hear what you're saying, but you have to, within yourself, because it's really not about them.
Okay.
It's not about them. Mm-hmm. It's all about you. Because you are Aboriginal Indigenous. So, how many people there play chess?
I understand
I've
chess.
played it, then
I played it.
often.
I understand a little bit.
Played it.
How many people play chess? How many people
Probably
are
like two.
familiar with the game of chess?
I say about 50% of us.
50%. There needs to be 100, because this is chess, it's not checkers.
Yeah, that people start playing.
This is not checkers. This is all about strategy. All right? If you've been studying, then you know they don't have a bond, they don't have an oath, they don't have a delegation of authority.
Okay.
So you
Now you're
must
talking.
step up to them
Now
and
you're
ask them to present what you know they don't have.
Because they're foreign, alien Europeans.
And the only way that they can have a delegation of authority is if you or your ancestors gave it to them. And
Okay.
since Congress adjourned in Anaid in 1861, none of our ancestors gave them any delegation of authority.
Okay, what if what if you put them on notice, but they're still not recognizing that? And they go ahead and you're under threat to arrest and coercion?
I'm gonna say
All
it this
right,
way.
all right.
Go ahead,
What
Mother.
you, okay,
That's real
what
questions.
you guys, you said there's like 15, 14, 15 people in that room?
Mhm.
Give or take.
Do 15 or 14, I'm gonna stick with 15. Do all 15 of the people in there have hands?
Yes.
Then all 15 need to take that writ and collectively be emailing it and faxing it. Specifically, you have an insurance commissioner. I'm sure you do. The same setup, might have different names, but it's the same setup. You have an insurance commissioner, they're insured by somebody.
That's true.
Okay.
You fax it to everyone and anyone. Trust me, they will think twice before they injure you.
Activity.
Put them on notice, okay.
Because the one thing that they know we as the people are good at is we're good at coming to you and cussing you out. At drafting lists. We suck at drafting lists. And creating a paper trail doesn't go away. How important is a paper trail? Let me tell you. How many have heard of the burning of the books?
Yes.
They were getting rid of a paper trail.
On part.
And guess what?
Got
The
caught.
paper trail didn't end because some of those books
Got
are
two.
still in existence today. So they didn't do a very good job, but the purpose was to get rid of a paper trail. Look at the extreme that they will go to get rid of a paper trail. Now, they'll go to that extreme. A paper trail is very important. Now, your job is to begin to create one. And all of you must know that Canada is nothing more than another corporation. They're a British colony, and so they are answerable to the United Nations as well.
Islam. Islam.
Wow.
And see, you just can't CC a few people. You have to CC
Everybody.
to the point where they call you a nuisance. When I CC people, oh, I CC by thousands. Because I know I'm not only doing this for myself, I'm doing this for Mother, and I'm doing this for my entire nation. When I say Mother, I don't just mean Mother Anaid, I mean for all mothers of my nation. Is anyone there?
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
Yeah.
Got really quiet. Okay, yeah.
We're listening.
I thought I lost for a minute. Yeah, we're talking about for all mothers of my nation. And so I don't have to know you to know that if injury happens to you, it happened to me. And so it's about unity in aggregate, working together for to eliminate a particular cause that's been causing injury to us. I mean, you must be diligent about faxing, emailing, and making sure these so-called public servants, because they're all frauds. And so, when you ask me, what he should have, really and truly, he should have to really have a boat pass to get on out of here if he's robbing us, because he didn't have permission to be here under what he's causing. If he's here to cause injury to us, no one asked him to be here. That's not hate, that's just being simple about it. If you want to, commit rapine and rob the land, so on and so forth, you can have a boat pass to go back to where you came from. That's how I'm looking at it. So when they approach me, usually the first thing I do, I grab that cell phone or whatever device I have, and, for calling, and I already have, before they even approach the car, if that's what they're going to do, I already got 911 on the phone. And when they walk over to the car, I am not calling them an officer. The first thing I say is, I look over to him, I may ask him who he is, that's about status. And if I'm an officer, or he or she says I'm officer, whatever, and I'm saying into that record, letting them know, I got 911 on the phone over here, so you better be mindful of how you deal with me, and no, you're not an officer, because an officer is an elected official. That's a misrepresentation, in fact, of fraud, and you are aware that you turn your lights on me. That's a felony within itself because there's no emergency. You know, these are the things that I do to them. You know, I'm the one asking the questions always. I'm not letting them ask anything. And see, they get that attitude with people who don't know any better. And see, generally, like when I'm around in these areas, they already know who I am. I don't care if I say I'm driving or traveling, it doesn't matter. They already recognize I'm here. And they recognize the injury financially I will cause to them. You know, they had little things where they came out to the house, or we got a strange phone call, but they wanted to see my face. And you know, the first thing they do is look in, and they see a library. And I'm going to tell you how I do libraries. I make sure that I double the books that I purchase and put them in other places. See, this is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of not just having a library of substantive information that you use. And see, we're in the age of, this is the age of Aquarius, so information moves fast. They can't just deal with it like that. You see, there's a Netflix series called House of Cards, and it talks about politics. And, in one scene, the lady said to one guy who called her out of her name. See, he thought he could call her out of her name because no one would know, because he comes from a time of dinosaurs who men could do whatever they wanted to do to women, they can get away with it. And she said, you don't realize that now when you talk to one person, you talk to 1,000. He's like, what are you doing? She said, I'm tweeting. And she said, now I'm pushing send. We are in an age of the double-edged sword. That which they thought they were going to use against us, use it against them. The hermetic principles of Hermes Trismegistus. It is a powerful science. Reverse the role. Anything they do to you, you do to them. I'm recording you. You know what? You want to do something with your finance? Take care of that temple over there, because Brother Kudrow, who put us on this call here, he actually cares. Because if he didn't give a damn about you, we wouldn't be on this line talking to you right now, because we got things to do. If he didn't give a rat's ass about the people there to use the language, he would not have us on this call, because we deliver the truth, and we bring it hard and heavy. And so, you should take some of the notes and make sure that notes go to that brother to make sure he continues to assist you. We're not talking okay, trying to rob you. We're not Louis Farrakhan and all that kind of crap. We're not trying to rob the people, calling them black, Negro, colored, so on and so forth, anything but what they really are. We're telling you who you are. Go look it up for yourself. Put a dash cam on your dashboard.
Yes.
About starting at about, all kinds of type of spy equipment is starting now about 30 notes, maybe even cheaper than that. You could be carrying around 5 pens, so on and so forth, so to bring it to these people. So you can record their criminality and put it on the public record so that everyone can see their criminality and taking them off the table left and right. When you get to acting like that on the chessboard, remember they're pawns. In the process over there with my son, the State Department of Idaho called me and said, we hope that you're intelligent enough not to sue the corporation, but to take the pawns off the table. She was talking to me directly. She's letting me know. These are peons. Police are peons, but they're very valuable peons in that they are foot soldiers. Continue to take the foot soldiers off the table, and you can easily get to the rest of them. This is chess, not checkers. This is a game of war. This is war, but it's a different type of war. It's a war of political science. And if you don't understand political science, you will be devoured by the wolves. This is nothing but business. And so once you start to understand how business operates, you come in another manner. You don't deal with them differently. I'm not angry, it's just business. They'll say, are you angry? I'm not angry, it's just business. Look at it no other way. Don't get emotional about it. Don't get angry because you didn't get what you wanted from them the first time through. Recognize, once you start putting pen to paper and faxing it out all over the planet of their activity and start dissolving your inactivity, things change.
Yes.
Things change for the better and the upliftment of fallen humanity. I'm not here to blow smoke in your direction. I'm here to tell you exactly what the truth is. Because if I don't, it's going to hinder my family. And you are my family. The blood of my blood. I'm just being real with you about it. And I don't know how else to put it. I know you can feel my spirit because it transcends, because we are telepathic beings. I'm talking to you from my spirit right now. So I'm giving you the information that I learned from being out there in the trenches of how to uplift myself. That's, because I'm coming from Mother. Mother Anaid was right there with me the whole time. She was writing writs to the governor, and so on and so forth, to make sure that they knew, do not come in this direction. We will place lien on you, on those bonds that allow them to function, because they must be chartered, because they're operating under a charter, that Constitution. And you don't do enforce that Constitution. And know who you are. That's the status, the state of mind. State of mind should be your nation. Black is not a nation. Negro is not a nation. Colored people is not a nation. But you can find law where we talk about more. You'll find more throughout all history. More has everything to do with the land. That's why they'll say it comes from the Moors of Ireland, the land. Everything to do with the attachment of the land. Do not separate yourself from that, because we've done that long enough. Now it is time to return ourselves back to our nationality and our birthrights. If you don't stand on it, no one else will. With that, I respectfully yield the floor.
Islam, let me ask this question. If could both of you speak, because you said there was something very profound in the Moore versus Police video. Well, there were many things profound, but two things that stuck out to me. One, if both of you could speak on this, one was when you made the statement that they're losing their power all over the planet. If you could talk on that, and how important our position is to that manifestation. And two, when the officer said that she thinks her oath is filed somewhere, but she doesn't know where it's filed.
Islam, I can tell you directly. I'll start first with the, she's not, I'll start first with her, the little agent, which is a private security guard. I'll start first with her saying that. The reason why she said that is because I had, in that little area, that they're calling a town, which is not the land, because that's a corporation, township's a corporation. When I first arrived there, we had an issue, and I have to do it this way so you know the history of what happened. We stayed in a particular, we rented a property from a European, and he was part of a particular church. And I would say he's part of the Mormon church, which is actually funny when you start to study. But incidentally, this man wanted to come into our home when he chose to using a key. And we rented from him, and I told him he couldn't do it. In Idaho is an open carry state, and and I always, to be honest with you, in the home I did have a particular firearm for my protection. It is my right, Second Amendment. Whether the Second Amendment is there or not, it's just my birthright. He came in, I told him you shouldn't do that because it is unsafe for you, and it makes my family uncomfortable, and you don't have any right contractually to do that. He said I can do whatever I want to, it's my house. So he said, I'm going to call. Incidentally, we got to a point where he felt so much he could do what he wanted to do. He said he would call his sheriff's buddy, and the sheriff would lock me up because they wanted to walk someone through the home that I was renting as a future purchaser of the home. And I said, no, not until my contract with you has expired. And he said, I can do what I want to. And he said, I'm going to have my sheriff's buddy, and he got off the phone with me, and he called on the two-way. Like we're doing now, and the sheriff was on the phone and told me they're going to come and arrest me temporarily until someone walked the home and they were done dealing with their business. And if I was good, then they would release me when they were done. And I said, oh, that's so. And here again, when I'm talking about hermetic principles, whatever they do to you, do to them. I said, I'm recording this because I record everything. Yep. And all of a sudden I heard a click because I was recording. And so, with that, that's what started the whole ordeal. And so from there, I went to the D Department of Motor Vehicles, because I didn't have what they call a driver's license, and not going to get one either. And I went every place I wanted to go, no problem. And I made sure they all knew I didn't have it, but I let them know in advance. I let them know I'm not going to get one. You can't make me get one. I don't care what it is you say. You can write whatever you want to say on this paper. Come talk to me, and I got something for you by removing finance from your pocket. That's how I came to them. I came to them just that firm. And they were kind of shocked. They were like, you really got a pair. And I'm like, call it what you want to call it. I went to the DMV, which at that time, all the people at the DMV were just, people who worked there. But the next time I went there, they were all police who were deputized. And there weren't so many deputies until I arrived there, because they had to deputize all of the people, because they knew that if they weren't deputized, I would remove them as just being agents. I would remove their bond that's in place. I would cause damage by collapsing the bond by constantly writing and placing charge against their bond. But that lady sat there in the street and said what she said because she knew I always asked for their delegation of authority order and their oath of office. And so usually they'll say that they would threaten me and say that they didn't exist. And I'll say, oh, it doesn't exist, so I can go do what I want to anyway, because you don't have the proper, the proper documents to operate here. That's why she said that. She said, well, it's housed somewhere, and I said an affidavit of fact. And an affidavit of fact is clearly giving oath or affirmation of a particular thing. People laughed and said I didn't know law. That was an oath of office is definitely an affidavit of fact. I came in another manner, and I actually tricked her into telling the truth. Because normally they'll say that they didn't exist. They came to my steps before that even happened and told me, enough about that oath in the barn while one guy is punching his fist into his hands. Enough about that oath in the barn. I said, or what? Boy, servant. Because I'm not a servant. I'm like, yes, you are. You are a public servant. Fall in line, boy. See, this is a reversal of energy, because they may usually call us boys, but when you call them boys, it's by some bad because you're reversing that energy. Anything that they would do to you, you do to them. Reverse it on them. And they don't know how to deal with that. And that's how I came to them. They go, be quiet for a minute and listen to the lieutenant. And I said, well, the lieutenant may have authority over you, but he has no jurisdiction over me. And I let them know. And there was a big screen TV behind me. I stepped aside, opened the door wider. I said, you see that on that screen there? That's what an oath of office looks like, and a bond. It was a blanket bond that was on the TV as a screensaver just spinning around. And, and I said, look at that right there. I know you have one, because if you don't have one, you can't operate. And they just got really quiet, and they were leaving. And as he walked out, he was like, don't you come over here. And I said, or what, boy? And I had my camera just, pointing it in their direction. And the lieutenant was grabbing him, telling him to get in the car. But when you get to that incident in the street, when she said that, she knew that I always asked for the oath of office and the bond. And they would never deliver that to me. And they would always protect themselves by saying it did not exist. And then it got to a point where, as we're standing there, and I said, when it gets to the point where I said you're losing your power all over the planet. Of course they're losing their power, because with everything, goes back to the Hermetic principles, everything must have balance, like yin and yang. If we are gaining in knowledge, they have to be losing it. There must be balance. That's why I said you're losing your power all over the planet, because the aboriginal and indigenous people of the planet are starting to make moves toward reclamation of their lost estates. And they're starting to recognize who they are and voice it. And even greater than that, the rest of the world is waiting on the Moors here. So when the Moors up here start to wake up, these sleeping giants start to speak, the rest of the world starts to make activity, because they're excited, because they know that they will no longer be under the boot heel of this colonial terroristic corporation. That's why he said that. With that, I'll yield the floor to Mother Anaid, that she may answer the question. And I hope I have answered you sufficiently.
Islam.
Islam. Mother, are you there?
Oh, no, I don't have anything to add.
I did a good job.
Actually,
Absolutely.
Islam. Anita?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to ask you a question. I'm Amari El Bay. What is the update on Abka Ray Bay, the sister that down in Tennessee with the home?
Well,
You know what, Mother? I didn't mean to interrupt you. you don't even have to say anything. We can let this, what we did today speak for itself.
Okay, okay.
There's gonna be a special broadcast tonight on Civil Alert at 9:30. It's gonna be about 4 hours, so have plenty of drinking fluid. It's ABCA, ABCA is telling, her side of the story of what
Okay.
happened.
Okay, okay.
If you didn't know she's out, you might not have known that, she is out. So, she'll be telling her side of what transpired, and myself, Fonteas, Taj, Raz,
Okay.
and Mizraim, which is Rod's son, and Santasha. We're all going to be on the call, giving points of law and references and absolute support.
All right.
for our sister.
All right.
So you can check that out tonight at 9:30. Civil Alert, special broadcast.
Very powerful broadcast. And I'm gonna say this. I mean, we all made sure we gave detailed information about law, but Brother Todd Sharif said he went in deep and long. He sure did.
Islam.
I want to say, because, my first teacher was Valahara. How many people have heard of Valahara?
Yes.
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 She was my first teacher, and she was such a dynamic speaker. And actually, I never was one to get on YouTube. I didn't even know what YouTube was, because I'm a book reader. My nephew gave me her DVD on law, and she was so dynamic that I was actually trying to find her. But I couldn't find her at the time. I ended up running into somebody who actually had some additional DVDs by her. So I scooped up all her DVDs. And then when I finally made it to the Harlem class, that's when I met Taj. But before I met Taj, I met Rod. It was the same day, but I met Rod first. So, Rod was my second teacher. So I had Valahara, and then Rod, and then Rod actually brought me to where Taj was staying. And, and then, we kind of cleared up a lot of misconceptions. We hung out for the entire weekend and cleared up a lot of misconceptions that were going on at the time. And it actually involved a dirty war who was stealing finance from me, alleging that it was, for the betterment of the temple that never been manifested. So, but the concept that was going on at that time was, and you'll find that a lot of people will put you into a lot of fear about these unlawful contracts that in your lifetime you have entered into. So that was a big controlling portion that was going on, and actually it's still going on to this day. So Taj actually broke that completely down over the entire weekend with a whole bunch of additional bonus stuff. So, from that point on, we kind of became, thick as thieves, and I would just, because I'm, like I said, I am a deep reader, studier. I sift through information. I can pick up a book and sift through all the unnecessary crap to get to the cream. So that's what I do, and pull out information and run it by Taj, bounce it off Taj, and from that, I just sit down and start drafting writs for various different issues relative to issues that we as a people are facing. So, with that, I yield the floor.
Islam. Hello? Islam.
Islam.
Yes, this is Shakim.
Yes?
What steps can we do for people who've been violated by police? They've been kidnapped. I've been one of them. They've detained me for quite some time. What's the recourse that I can make to put a suit on these officers, or so-called officers?
Could you speak a little louder?
That's chopped up. I can't make out what you're saying.
What steps should I take on approaching towards these officers who violated my rights? They kidnapped me a few years back.
First, you shouldn't call them officers,
Sorry.
because officers are elected officials.
Right.
And they are actors. They are impersonating officers. That's a fraud.
Okay,
That's a huge strike against them.
Okay,
And they have what is called, in order for them to even operate, they're supposed to have an oath of office. And without that, they're already committing a fraud, and they're committing treason. You need the steps you need to take is write that down. You need to read your Constitution, and when you read your Constitution, you'll start to realize where they are violating you. If you've already done that, do you know how they violate you?
Well,
these so-called officers are kidnappers, and they kidnapped me.
Okay, write that down.
that's
Write
right.
their names down. Go find their photographs.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
what we said earlier is you're actually demonstrating a prime example of what I think recently said. You had an issue, relatively recent, and what you need to do is document in affidavit format exactly what happened to you.
Okay, Go ahead.
Because that is the beginning of your writ. And see, you're dealing with treason and fraud. There's no statute of limitation when the public servant violates your liberties in any way, shape, or form.
Request their bond, oath of office. And I'm pretty sure since the corporation, they're going to have their municipal corporations there too. They're going to have what is called a human resources risk management department, something very similar. And in that department, they're going to have where you're supposed to file what is called complaints. But you're not going to file anything because Moors don't file. We record. That means you send them your own documentation. You create a form of law. Because forms, when you have a form is the skeleton structure of law. Why should you have them create the structure that's standing? The skeleton is the standing. So it's up to you to create it. You create your own documentation. And I'm pretty sure you've heard this before, but when you start to write down who they are, you put their photographs on the documents. You put their names on the documents of all parties involved, including, I don't know if you have mayors, so on and so forth, anyone who operates in that venue. If you have a governor, he's also responsible because he's the CEO of that corporation and all who's underneath him. You would list his photograph, and anyone else who's underneath them, you put their photograph on them. And especially in that municipal corporation, you take the photographs of those county people or whatever, or parishes, whatever they're called. You take their photographs and you put them on those documents. And you continue to CC it to all of the embassies. And I'm pretty sure you have something that's similar to the Department of Justice or the Justice Department would CC that all over. Any place that there is some place to CC it, you would. Because every time you CC someone, that becomes a witness to the injury. And it also makes it difficult to bond or to accredit those people because they need accreditation. They need to be proven to be worthy individuals. And if you're sending out something everywhere that says to the contrary, it makes it difficult for them to hire them and work. You know, no different than a so-called bad driver. If you keep getting in your car, you have a driver's license or you have insurance, and you keep hitting somebody every week, what would the insurance company do to you?
Stop insuring you.
They're going to drop you.
Right. And the funny,
That's how you deal with them.
the funny part too is,
Because I can hear you.
sorry, the funny part too is I also recorded them in the midst of their infraction or the violation. I done on record on my phone.
You know what you do? That means you should be sending out the emails then. You should make a so-called video, some site like YouTube, and put a link there in the email, and send out emails by the hundreds so they can push that link and hear the activity. You have to be creative in making sure that you make it de jure, because they're acting de facto, and so you must make it public. The more you make it public, don't think nothing's going to happen to them, because it will. Because you put them in a position where they must do their jobs that they claim and given oath or affirmation or have accepted finance to do. Because if not, if they've accepted finance, they won't do their job. That's misrepresentation of finance. They're misappropriation of funds, embezzlement. You have to keep on thinking what the crimes are. Crimes are very easy to list. Their criminality, because they are acting criminal out in the open. And so it's easy to get them. They will always be acting criminal because they're bringing de facto to the table. De facto simply means outside of law, as opposed to de jure, which is nothing but law. Nature's God, nature's law, no different than gravity is unchangeable, it's the same thing. If you jump up right now, you will go back down and hit the ground. That's nature. It is unchangeable. And so you must look at it from the intensity. What I'm telling you is much more easier than it seems. I mean, it's very easy. It's very easy. All you have to do is be more active, but in the right areas. There's 13 people in that room. There's 13 people that should no longer perform. Do you know if you live in a particular dominion and you send out 100 writs in a week, watch how things change of how they govern people. They were pulling people over on a particular street, even though streets are corporations too, what they call a street. If they kept on pulling people over and you wrote 100 writs about that so-called street, even though I say again, the land is not the street, you would start to see they would no longer be pulling people over on that street because you made it hot for them. Very simple. It requires our activity, not just sending to a few people. The more you send, you must take it to that level. Like I said, when I CC or fax, I'll fax 1,000 people. And then I'll call someone up and say, hey, fax with me, because they're having the same problem you having. So when you come together, and the person sitting next to you should be faxing for you, and you should be faxing for them. And they should be faxing for themselves, and you for yourself too. And so on and so forth. So that builds unity, because now you have something in common. You always did. Like they say in church, let's hold each other's hand. Let's not hold each other's hand and that's it. Let's hold our hand and make sure we get something done. And put the finance to some good use instead of some preacher, who's riding on his boat and his jet ski somewhere out on the Lake Ontario.
And they do it too.
But you understand where I'm coming from, right?
Yes, I do.
That's what they do. So if the person sitting next to me, I care for in a manner where I'll say I will be diligent in making sure I stack out something in regard to you. I don't want any injury to come to you, and they say the same thing to you, and they mean it. Oh, it stops all of the crap, because we all are facing the same problems. These terroristic threats against us. While they call us terrorists, we have no power. In that sense, we haven't been running around shooting people. They have. We haven't been beating people. They have. We haven't been dividing people's families. They have. And a lot of dirty Moors with them. Let's just be real. A lot of dirty Moors with them. Mm-hmm. And so you put their face up there as well. They'll try to throw you in front of somebody that looks just like you. You'll say, well, they're not of my nation because their political allegiance is different. They may have the bloodline of us, but they're not for the better better good of my nation because they have a different political allegiance. You bring that to the table.
So you're saying for the,
And that's why a lot of times, you know, on Civil Alert Radio, lately you hear that they've been messing with the phones and a lot of static and so on and so forth because we are reaching the people with the truth. It is not difficult. It is not just difficult to resurrect this nation that has been asleep. It just requires our activity instead of the inactivity that has been there due to the fact that the European colonists have intentionally indoctrinated ignorance into our culture. Have removed the culture, I should say. How about, you know, has that helped you any? The
Yes.
answer that I'm giving you, is that helping
yes,
you?
yes, it has. But another question: the specific individuals, is there some kind of lawsuit I can put forth on the specific officer, kidnappers?
Call it not officers. Kidnap. Call them what they are. They're kidnappers.
Yes.
Could you repeat the rest of it? Could you repeat it again louder?
Sorry. The process of getting the specific individuals, the kidnappers, is there is this some kind of like a lawsuit I could go to? I got their names.
You know what? You say lawsuit. You know, you're not gonna go to the criminal and get anything from the criminal.
Right.
To be real with you, other than get back what you have lost. What you can get back from them, you know, we hold court wherever we stand. Once you know law, you hold court where you are the law. And so you hold court wherever you want to hold it. We hold court right now.
Right, true. But the funny thing
And
is,
so what you do is,
the funny thing is, they also, I brought with me my my affidavit of the right to travel. They had no so-called ID on me, nothing. But they also recorded my schedule fee and all this other stuff that was on me. So they actually like exposed themselves as they got me. So
but that's when you go, like I said, to the Human Resources Risk Management Department, and you may be intelligent about what I'm saying and go in and file a claim that you understand what I'm saying? You go in and file a claim, you know, that you may go in and, you know, and take finance off the table. Because they try to hide where you file claims. It's all right for you to file a claim if it's going to get you some finance. I'm not saying don't do that. We Moors write rich, and we usually record things. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to the codification of what I'm saying. We Moors write rich and record rich. But the branded people file. It's all right to file if you're taking finance off the table. You understand what I'm saying?
yes, I do.
Think about what I'm saying. I'm going about it in another manner so that you know people listening don't really just get it. But I know you will if you really think about what I'm saying. Moors don't file anything. Branded people file, but only file if you after finance. So they don't deal with you if you come in like more influence. They'll act like you don't exist. They'll just make sure the matter disappears.
Could I do both though?
That's the truth, huh?
Could I do both? Do both.
Of course.
Right.
That's what I just told you.
Understood. Understood. Islam.
Listen, I'm going to say something, and I want you all to comprehend what I'm saying. I've heard a couple slips of the tongue while on this call. When you have a slip of the tongue like that, where you're using the wrong language, what you're demonstrating is that you need to study more. Because when you have a slip of the tongue like that in front of Europeans, they know that you're lacking, and they will play the game with you at your expense.
Understood.
So which slip of the tongue should
You must be thorough.
And I'm saying that to say this. If you are 30 or 40 years old, I don't know what the age range is in there, but if you're 30 years old, you have 30 years of misinformation in your head. If you are not diligently studying all the time. when you are called to stand on your square and you open your mouth, that misinformation will pop out. This is not a game. This is very...
That old-time religion, you know what that old-time religion really is? It's studying.
Yeah.
It's the new-time religion, too.
Yes. We've got to be serious. And I'll tell you, I'm going to say to you, I'm always studying. Always studying. Everybody, I'm sure, most people have a cell phone. Cell phones today are equipped with a microchip. On my microchip is all of the civil alert classes and some other stuff. Even when I'm talking to somebody face to face, my headphones are in my ear and civil alert is playing.
Islam.
I am always studying because I recognize that I have a certain amount of misinformation in my head. And I'll be damned if I'm going to have it pop up at the wrong time and make me fodder for these foreign European aliens. So I'm hearing some slips of the tongue, and I would suggest that people study, put these lectures on their phone, burn it onto a CD, and listen to it in your car, or excuse me,
Conveyance.
We got you. Slip up.
listen to it in your automobile.
No.
See, that was a quick correct though.
Islam.
See, we're listening,
Listen to it in your automobile, but you must always be in study mode. Now, you know, some of you will go onto the website, you'll look at the writs, and you'll hear me on Civil Alert or some other show, and you're thinking, wow, you know, she's so smart. No, I am just so studied. I'm just studying. I'm always a student, even when I'm a teacher, I'm a student. And you must be too, because everything that you're doing, when I say this to you, don't take it the wrong way, because we are in the business of helping you to develop yourselves into the leaders that you already are. So that each and every one of you in that room, individually and collectively, can take your place amongst the affairs of men. So study all the time. So when you come and bring the law, you put it down with a big bang.
Islam.
How many people watched that movie, The Matrix?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
I think in Matrix 2, Neo does it a lot of times where he puts his fist down and you see the universe kind of warping, like waves going out.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes.
It's like throwing a pebble into water and the ripples just continue on forever. That's the way you want to be putting down the law. It doesn't matter where you are. When you put it down and you put it down hard, the ripples are going to go far and wide. Islam.
I want to say that, and I don't think this is off topic. I actually am having a good time today. And, Kudrow promised me we were going to have a lot of fun, and I feel peace and energy, and I feel that the words that we are saying here is not going to fall on deaf ears. I can feel the energy of the people being tired of being abused, and much good is going to come of what we're talking about today. And I'd like to thank this brother and whoever else is there to assist him, and the four mothers that are there. Thank you for this forum, allowing us to speak, because we actually love to uplift. This is what we love doing. We eat and sleep this. And before you start over with, you're going to be addicted to studying. I'm laughing because we are addicted to study. This is all that we do.
That's all we do.
Well, I don't know how to talk about anything else in my life. So can you talk about something else? No, I sure can't. I don't know. This is my product. I'm like a robot. And so, Noel Raleigh said he was going to create a genius nation. What he meant by that was we came from a genius nation. Do you know when we were out on campaigns, the soldiers would stop when they're making a fire and so on and so forth after a day of battle, and they would say poetry, and they would talk about great books and works that they have read and even written. So this is where we come from. And so we're returning ourselves back to that. And the Europeans, and not all, let me say this right now. Let's put this on the table right now. Every European is not our enemy, and every Moor is not our friend.
Islam.
Let's just be real about that. There are
Islam.
many Europeans that are assisting us in this. This is not about hate. Other than being about us hating those who are forced, not those, but hating the idea of someone trying to enforce de facto system upon us. We can hate ideas, but this is not about hate as in we hate the people. It's not about that. Because Europeans come from us. Because really and truly to hate the European at the end of the day is to hate ourselves. We created him.
Our children, yes.
He comes from us. And that's just me being real here. So it's not about that. If that's the case, there's a lot of dirty Moors who would deserve the title if I want to hate somebody. Because they know better more than anybody else. And so this really and truly is about love. The pillar of that star, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The head of the star is love. Because if you love yourself first, that's self-preservation. To love yourself for a change, because we've been so long not loving ourselves. Now it's time to love ourselves. Loving ourselves is not selfish, it is selfless. Because that means the person sitting next to you, you love them enough that you would send out 100 writs a week if you could. If you have more time, do more. If you can only do 20, do not feel bad, do 20. But it's the activity of togetherness, aggregate, that makes the difference. 13 people in that room, that's 13 people that can cause phenomenal damage to those who have been injuring us. Seriously. That's 13 people that can take pawns off the chessboard when they actually write law, when they understand how to utilize their energy effectively. Like they always talk about the brother Attila the Hun. Attila the Hun was a very efficient brother. Truly was. He was very efficient. Let's study Attila, and he was a brother. He was very efficient, taxed Rome on every level. He hit Rome so hard on all sides that they paid him gold tribute and said, Attila, please stop. Please do not tax us anymore. You're hurting us. Please. They were begging Attila, and he knew it. But you know what? Attila got weak, and I'll tell you what Attila was weak to. Attila fell victim and was poisoned by a European daughter because he fell victim. Because they'll hit you with that. I'm laughing because that's what Attila fell victim to. If Attila didn't fall victim to that, he would have been cast in Rome to Rome's knees. Because he understood that. He understood how to cost them. Whenever they bother, you must make it cost. We're not doing this to look pretty. We're doing this to be effective. And recognize that when you speak, your voice is worth 10,000. You know how they talk about, in the Bibliotext, the 144,000? They're talking about us Moors who will stand up and make activity. You should feel good about yourself every time you send a writ out. Every time you send it doesn't cost you anything to keep on back to gather up there, all of the politicians, all of the embassies, everything is listed for you on site. Go through there and copy and paste and put it into the sending, the address of your email, and send out massive emails in slew. And it will bring change to where you live. It will bring change in your heart first. So that's where your body, that's where your spirit lives.
Government sites.
Yeah, just government sites.
This is truth that we're bringing you. We're teaching you how to be effective with diplomacy, civics, and governmental principles, and bringing you back into the constitutional fold of government, where progress we have been lacking. Nationality is the order of the day. If you don't have a nationality, you are a stateless person. Please go look it up if you don't already know what that means. You have no voice. No one hears you. They abuse you like they did our brothers and sisters in Katrina, where they could not cross, where they could have walked across the bridge to leave, but the Europeans were sitting there with shotguns saying, if you cross this bridge to leave, we'll shoot. And you also had, what's the European actor's name? Sean Penn was on one of those bridges and he told the truth. He said they were blocking the people with shotguns and wouldn't let them leave.
Oh, shit.
Have you ever noticed that Sean Penn doesn't work as much as he used to?
Yeah.
What's his
You
name?
know why? Because he's always over there protesting. You know, they're making sure that, even, what's his name, Tookie Wilson, the Tookie, the big buff, gangbanger dude. Sean Penn was there, wanting him to be freed. He said that, society has molded him to be what he is. We should not kill him.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't get as much work that he normally gets, because he's too much on telling the truth. Every European is not your enemy, and every Moor is not your friend. But I guarantee Kudrow, Grand Sheik over there, he's your friend, because he brought us on his farm, because he knows we're going to tell the truth.
Let me ask this
Because
question.
if he wasn't about the truth, we would have exposed him a long time ago. But there's nothing to expose but the truth.
All right, let me ask this question. Based, you were just speaking about Sean Penn. Noble Drew Ali made the statement that he's going to make the European tell the truth. Could both of you speak on the Noble Prophet and your perspective of what he brought us?
We've been speaking on that the whole show.
Yeah.
You know, I understand what you're saying.
You brought back to your consciousness your nationality. Because, like we said for example, the whole issue of Katrina, one of the reasons that they treated those people like that, and if you recall, they called them refugees. Because they had not declared their nationality. And if you don't have a nationality, then you are a refugee. And that was the whole issue of the whole Katrina issue. And that's all the problem. That the nationality is the order of the day. Because once you proclaim your nationality, it determines the law that is applicable to you.
Rights and capacities and incapacity.
It's just that simple. What our challenge is that many of us are still under the spell of the Christian crusade. And we have some people that are right here in many of the temples across the nation who are still under the spell of the Christian crusade. Now, it doesn't mean that it is our job to go and point them out, because the universe is always correct. You do what you got to do for you.
Please, Fonteas, I got a quick question for you in terms of Black's Law Dictionary. Why do we use the Black's Law Dictionary?
And you said the question is for me? For
Yes,
Fontaine?
Yeah.
I use the Black Law Dictionary as just one of the dictionaries, to be honest with you, because I feel that the older the book, the more truth that you're going to find in its definition, especially to do with us as a people, because it's getting closer to, an age of when we were in rulership, when we were in control and in rulership, because we had more right law, and we dealt in right law. We did fall. I use a book. I have Bouvier's dictionary. I have dictionaries from Sir William Blackstone, Esquire. I have many different dictionaries that I use. I have on my shelf American Dictionary of the English Language by Noah Webster, 1828. I have a whole slew of dictionaries that I use. I have a dictionary of admiralty law, maritime law by West Publishing. I have lots of dictionaries. I mean, I probably have more than 20 dictionaries. So I won't just say that I use Black's Law only, but a lot of times I do like using Black's Law because it's a premier dictionary. And it deals in both ancient and modern. Jurisprudence, the science that treats the positive law, as we were talking about as in contradistinction, as in to de facto, which is public law, which is given the semblance or appearance of law, but without substance. You know, it has a lot of substance in there, and you can learn about status, as in free white person, what a white person means, what color means, colored person, so on and so forth. That's why I like to use the earlier editions. I have the first edition, addiction, because I'm addicted to the dictionary. I have the first edition, second, third, and fourth, and the fifth, on down to the sixth edition. I have 6 editions of Black Law dictionaries.
Okay.
Because of the imperative information that's there.
Okay. What I'm saying is, why are we using the Black's Law dictionary? Like, were these dictionaries written? Hold up. Were these dictionaries written by Moors, or were they written by Europeans?
But that's what I'm saying. The information therein, the information that the European is using is our information.
Yeah. Okay.
He's using our information against us. Doesn't matter who published the book. We educated them. And so if you want to know about where they got their education from, they got their education from us during the Renaissance period.
Sure.
So they got that information from us. That's what I'm saying. The older the book, the more close to us.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And so the European is definitely going to tell more truth in it. And a lot of times, the people who have written these books in those more ancient times, it's going to definitely be us. Ancient means more. But I use the Black Law dictionary because it deals in jurisprudence both ancient and modern. European deals in feudal law. Feudal law comes from us too, because we abuse people as well. That's why we're in the predicament that we're in now, because that which you do comes back on you.
Karma.
Thank you.
So, when you start to study, when you start to know Sir Francis Bacon, so on and so forth, these are amalgamated Moors. These people are coming from us. They're us, because we're the ones who educated them. We uplifted them from their darkness into marvelous light. And these books of ancient jurisprudence, ancient law, ancient study of astronomy, alchemical sciences come from us. We are the ones who educated us. That's why Noble Dwell Lee said, get yourselves a good European education, because it is your education, because they got it from us.
Indeed.
Islam, did that answer your question?
Islam.
Yes.
Yes, it did. On behalf.
And again, thank you for this forum. I'm having a good time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like to talk, but here at home, wife, she tells me to shut up, and you ask me to speak more.
Speak more.
But that's a powerful.
Yeah, speak more.
Islam. That's a powerful video you put on YouTube. That's a powerful video. Like, even those who don't know what's going on, you actually ignited some kind of intelligence in that video.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm having a difficulty hearing you.
Okay, wow.
Don't put it so close.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, now, I don't know now, is there a phone that you have speaker, that we don't speakerphone from a phone? Is there a possibility that the people can walk up to the phone who have a question and talk to the phone?
Y'all want to Sorry. I said the video was so powerful that even those who don't know law saw the effects of what you did on the video, and they were surprised by it. So I'm saying thank you for that powerful video.
I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that, and I know that Mother Anaid appreciates that, because she was with me on carrying out, what needs to be implemented in order for that video to be seen. And I will say this: there are no accidents I was very strategic about my dealings with these people. I wasn't, don't get me wrong, I didn't create the situation of my son being in that predicament. That just happened, but how I dealt with them was very strategic. I knew sooner or later we would come to this point, and I was wanting to record them. And so, I appreciate you even saying that, because I was very, serious about getting my son back. I was very serious about making sure that I talked to people. I don't know if you could tell that I made sure step by step I was there to teach the people in the process.
Indeed.
And I tried to even make it as simple as I could that everyone could understand what I was talking about. That's why, I spoke about color of law and made the sound effects. I could have explained it on another level, but I wanted people in town to understand what I was speaking of, because most of our people are in a state of mind at the present time.
It was scientifically done, man. It was really good.
I appreciate that. Peace and love. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace and love.
Where are we at for time?
Right now we're at about 2 hours 15 minutes. All right, so
Oh, wow.
yeah, we got a lot of work done in a little bit of earth time. One thing we do request every time we do Skype lectures, we want the lecturers to give words of advice to Canaanland Moors, being that it's the first temple here, and we're just getting our feet wet and all that. So if you can each take a little time to let us know, moving forward, how we should navigate. Continue doing what we should
I'll say,
do, whatever.
Mother, you want to take this first, or you want me to take this? Mother, are you there?
You can take it.
All right. Well, what I'll say, I'm not gonna take Mother Anaid's line. I'll let her say her line, but I will say, treat each other like family, because you are, and family takes care of each other. Pull your resources together, because you're going to realize soon here you're going to be all that you have. Start purchasing things in bulk and stocking it up in your facilities that you have there. Put on your turban and your feathers and be honored, because they are your crown. Carry yourself with honor and dignity. Study and apply what you have studied. Again, you are family. You're family to me, you're family to everyone on this call. We are family. And when we start treating each other as such, Mother automatically will be risen. With that, I respectfully yield the floor, and I give love to everyone that wanted us to come and speak this day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Islam.
Peace. Active Morse.
Yes, I will continue.
Mother, you
to be
there?
active.
Never sleeping.
Yes, I'm here.
You gonna say your statement?
Studying.
Oh, as always, the most important thing the prophet said in one word, and he repeated it 3 times. Surprisingly, it is the one thing we seem to miss, and that is study, study, study. There's a second part to that, but if you can't get past the first study, the second part doesn't matter. It's
And
on.
I do want to say really fast, don't be strangers. I don't know about you, Mother, but I would love to come, and I like talking, so I would love to come out and talk some more, and just get to converse with my family, in hopes that that something from my spirit connects with yours, and vice versa, because like Todd always tells me, I want to get to the point where I can just sit back and you teach me something. That's what it's about. We teach each other on equal footing.
A few people are asking about contact information for you all. I don't know how you dispense that.
My contact information is already, you're welcome to give it, because everyone can see it on the computer. You know, you can see it on the videos that I have up. You can also go to YouTube and see videos under Made Tangible. You know, I have a lot of other videos demonstrating me talking to public servants and agents of corporations. You know, you can learn how to, a lot of people tell me they listen to me and they learn how to talk to public servants. And so I do have a knack for talking to public servants and getting what I want. And it's not so much that as it is in energy, where they already know, I know who I am, and I will not waver on that position, that standing, that status is state.
And Sister Anaid?
Number.
Islam, mother, can you hear?
Yes, I mean, I can give you my email, but I gotta tell you, my email is inundated. But, you know, it's on Army Day Publications, it's the GSNAMA7@gmail.com.
And I can be reached through idoglobalimports@yahoo.com. That's idoglobalimports@yahoo.com. That's another thing we have to learn. We must understand lading terms and terms of maritime law. Definitely. And feudal law is something we definitely must study because that's what they're operating under.
Imports.
Oh, and one more thing, Brother Fontes. I know we spoke about this before, but I want you to just put on the record the Iron Sheik music and your thoughts on the music.
Oh yeah. My sons love the music. Even my youngest son Taj, you know, he goes around and he's saying the lyrics. It's the only music I really let them listen to because everything else is so profane. You know, I mean, outside of what they're getting from you. You know, we love your music and we respect the work that you do. And again, please respect and assist this brother in assisting yourself. It is very important. Anyone over there, I mean, I love watching the Skype lectures, and you know, I look forward to them when a new one comes up. It's very important to me because you know, I learn too. I'm always learning. I appreciate the work that Active Moors put in. Thank you for everything. And again, if you send me out some music, I appreciate that. My children appreciate that. Thank you. I know you say Iron Sheik, but I know sometimes I call you the Man of Steel.
Islam.
Islam, brother.
Anybody have any more questions or anything like that? Comments?
And Islam to the four mothers.
Islam.
Islam.
Sister Anaid, if you could quickly touch the website again, what your website is and what it consists of, quickly for the people.
Well, there's Army Day Publication. There's also MoorishNationPublicRecords.com. And there is MoorishNews.wordpress.com.
Say that again.
Newswordpress.com.
Moorish News WordPress.
WordPress.
What did you say?
All right, Moors, we thank you. We greatly appreciate everything that you're doing for the family and for the movement. And we're definitely gonna keep in touch so we can get another class from you all. It might be sooner than later, so I'll keep you posted.
And I hope this was what you expected from us.
More than what we expected. And thank you for taking the initiative to get Sister Anaid on. We've been trying to connect for a while, but you know, she's busy. Studying.
Active Moors. We all are busy.
For sure.
Active Moors. Peace and love to all.
We appreciate you, Moors. Islam.
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 Thank you.